Okay, so what's the most effective thing you can do if you're starting out with a small trading bank? Okay, so we've got a question from SKPG1, and they have asked, for the questions and answers, if I'm not too late, do you have any tips for me with a small trading float like £200? So I like that question because, you know, 200 quid, it's not a huge amount. It's a typical kind of amount that people start trading with or look to start trading with on Betfair. First thing you need to understand is a small trading float or bank, if you called it there, is an advantage in a sense. Because the smaller you are in the market, the more effective you can be. And you should really try and leverage that position if you can. So when I say that, I mean that you can trade, there's more markets that will be available for you to trade, there's more trades that will be available for you to take within said markets, and there's more margin for error overall. Now why is that? Because the smaller you are, in comparison to the entire market, which you've got to imagine is just huge. If you're a little trading bank of £200, you're probably going to be using stakes of like £5, £10, £20 tops probably. Then you know you're a dot in the ocean, so it's far easier to get matched. You're less likely to be vulnerable in situations where somebody with a large trading bank using large stakes could be overexposed, because when you end up using larger stakes you can end up chasing away your own edge or advantage within the market, and so it's less effective. So when you're very small, there's a lot more freedom of movement is what I'm trying to say within the market. So first of all, just understand that that is actually a positive thing, if you like. However, I would say remain as strict as possible as you can on selection. Just because you can trade a lot more markets and you can take a lot more trades and you can probably get away with it a lot more often, doesn't necessarily mean you should. So although we're small with our little bank, we want to be effective with it, we want to be productive with it, and we still want to make the mistakes. So you know, less is more. Focus intently on the most beneficial thing to do, which is hopefully what some of these little tips will give you. So accepting that you have a small bank is the start, but then you realise that you might not be able to use it in certain situations as easily. So I would recommend that you sort of focus on odds below 7, probably around about 2 to 7, because when you have a small trading bank you might find that you have to back first more often than not, purely because you can't put as much lay money on the lay side of the book. That doesn't necessarily mean lay money matched, although that's limited too. But if you want to put multiple stakes within the market, you are restricted by that small balance, particularly if they're larger numbers, because obviously if you're laying at 7, you can't do it for the same stake as you can at 2 if you're on a small £200 bank. So back first is one way to look at it. Another way is just to sort of go over the lower odds ranges, and remove that limitation as much as you possibly can. So it's not all doom and gloom though, because I mean that is a restricting factor, no doubt. You can't always lay as much as you want, and you can't always lay first. But aside from being restricted on the odds that you attempt to trade with your small trading bank, you've got more markets to do it on, you've got more opportunities, there's less money per trade, which is I think what some people zoom in on straight away. They go, oh, I can't trade for so much money, so I can't make as much profit. Well, yes, that's true, but there's also less risk for you nipping in and out. So it's kind of like every cloud has a silver lining. Feel like you miss out on profit sometimes, possibly because of that, but that's not the way to be going into this. Trading is a defensive activity, and so you know, another tip would be to make sure that you approach it in that sense. No matter how big your bank is or how small your bank is, you want to be going defensive all the time, because you know, another upside, if you look at it on the other side of the coin, to having a small bank using small trades is you feel the pain less. It's not going to hurt so much when you make mistakes. I mean, overall, having a small trading bank is not necessarily a handicap. It might be in the sense of the odds ranges that you can lay at first, certainly. Beyond that, I think it's quite beneficial, and you've got to start somewhere at the end of the day. We all did. I had to start on making £1, £2 profits, and I remember the days when I was making 75p in a race. And that soon changes very quickly once you become consistent. So use that small bank, because you should be able to become more consistent quickly with a smaller balance. And only then do you want to crank it up and keep that consistency as much as possible. I'd be interested to know actually if people think that having a small balance really is that much of a handicap. But take full advantage of the fact that you can trade more markets, you can do it more frequently, you can have less risk and get away with more in the process, and use that smaller balance just to get turned over, even within the little noise when high turnover situations within the market, because you won't even be seen on those small £2, £5, £10 stakes at times.